Do you remember how excited you were in the 80s when you first learned how Aquanet worked? Well, if you're having acid reflux and bloating issues, what you learn in this video is going to be just as exciting. Because when you can understand the actual underlying cause for bloating and acid reflux, well, that's the first step in permanently fixing bloating and acid reflux. You're not going to want to miss this. You know you had those mad Aquanet skills. Pow!
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Now in this video, we're going to talk about stomach bloating, or more of the digestive type of bloating. So if you're dealing with that, hey, why don't my rings fit like they did this morning type of bloating, be sure to watch our Why Am I So Bloated video so you can understand what's going on with that. Now, acid reflux and bloating both have a variety of underlying causes that can be the possible problem. But if you're dealing with both acid reflux and bloating, I'm going to talk about the underlying cause that is very likely contributing to your combination of symptoms. First, let's talk about the acid reflux, because that's going to make the bloating make a little bit more sense. So we're told that we have acid reflux because we have too much stomach acid and that we should turn that off. But that's a lie. That was created so that aliens could control distribution pathways in the frozen yogurt industry. So, that's not true? Yeah, that's probably not true. But let me at least explain why this too much stomach acid scenario is probably not what actually is going on. Here's how it works. When we eat, our stomachs make hydrochloric acid, or HCl. And this acid is meant to break the food down so that we can access all the nutrients in that food. Once this food is properly acidified and can start to break down, it will leave the stomach and go into the small intestine for the next step of the digestive process. But this stomach acid is not a mistake that needs to be corrected. We make stomach acid for a reason. We need to be able to break the food down so we can access all the nutrients in that food. If we can't break it down and pull the nutrients out, then mineral and nutrient deficiencies can create a world of trouble. We need to be able to break the food down. Your body can't do anything with nachos supreme. It doesn't know what nachos are. You need to be able to break the nachos down into vitamins and minerals and amino acids and fats that the body can utilize. Otherwise, those undigested nachos just rot and ferment and become a toxic burden that the body has to figure out how to deal with. You kind of want nachos right now, don't you? But even a bigger problem when it comes to the reflux is that when we eat, at the bottom of our esophagus, there's an LES, or lower esophageal sphincter. And this is basically a valve that lets food come in, and then it goes into the stomach, and then this valve is meant to close so that food doesn't come back up. The problem is, this LES is triggered by stomach acid. So if a person is only making a little bit of stomach acid and they're not making enough to trigger this LES valve to close, that small amount of stomach acid that they're making is going to come back up and it's going to burn us. And it's going to be like a summer's day walk on the beach, except without the summer's day and without the walk on the beach, because it's just awful. It's like the, hey, somebody hooked up a car battery to my chest and I really don't like it type of awful. Nobody enjoys this. But the reflux is not from having too much stomach acid, it's from having not enough stomach acid to trigger that valve to close correctly. So if a person is having reflux and they can help their body acidify the stomach correctly in a way that will trigger that valve to close, then they get to actually break down their food, pull the nutrients out of the food, and the reflux stops because the valve was triggered. Yay! So now let's talk about how the bloating can be related to this reflux issue. A person might not be making enough stomach acid for a wide variety of reasons. You don't need to be taking an acid reflux medication to not have your stomach acid working correctly. And the really tricky part is that a person needs minerals to be able to make hydrochloric acid, but if you don't have enough stomach acid in your stomach to break the food down correctly, you can't pull the minerals out of the food that you're eating. So how's a person supposed to get any minerals? That's how someone can get stuck with not enough stomach acid for years or even decades. And when we don't have enough stomach acid to break that food down correctly, the food breaks down by a process of rotting and fermenting. Well, this rotting and fermenting can create gases and toxins, and these gases can create pressure that pushes against our stomach or intestinal tract and makes us feel really bloated, or it can make us look really bloated. Like, why do I look pregnant when I haven't had sex since Bob Barker was on TV, kind of bloated? You know, it's very uncomfortable for most people. And I'm going to take this a step further. That stomach acid that helps us break our food down and pull all the nutrients out of the food is also the initial barrier for the entire body. When bacteria and other varmints come in on the food that we eat, they die in an acid bath when they're fried in this stomach acid. That's what keeps the bad guys out. This stomach acid is your knight in disgusting armor. Also, click the like and subscribe button down below for the 500 points I just got for using the Yosemite Sam reference when I mentioned varmints. Are you kidding me? Click it, come on. But when this stomach acid barrier isn't there, and all these critters can come in on the food that we're eating, and they set up camp, and they raise their kids, and they throw keg parties, then the waste from these bacteria can be very alkaline and reduce the stomach acid even more. And they can also create a lot more gases, which creates a lot more pressure and can make us feel more bloated. But that extra pressure can also push food back up so that the small amount of acid that we do have in our stomach is now going to burn us as this pressure pushes the food back up. And you don't need to eat at a buffet where some kid just sneezed on the mac and cheese to have bacteria coming into the system. It's on the food that we're eating. You can't really avoid that. And that's why this stomach acid and this barrier is so important, and it might not be such a great idea to turn it off. The worst part is that some of these bacteria that can come into the stomach and they don't get fried by the acid can then make it further down the line and move into the small intestine. So some people will experience bloating in their stomach, and some of them will experience it further down in the intestinal tract. But either way, it's no fun. So when we take an acid reflux medication that turns our stomach acid off, there's no more acid coming up, so it doesn't burn us and we don't feel it, and we think we fixed the problem. But now that you can see all these other problems that can develop with a lack of stomach acid, you can see that maybe the problem really wasn't fixed. Instead, if a person can help their body acidify their stomach correctly, they can not only break down their food and get all the nutrients out of that food, but the stomach can be acidified enough to trigger that LES valve to close, and then the reflux stops. But even more importantly, now we still have that acid barrier to keep the bad guys out. You know, most people think that they're just chalking up symptom after symptom as I age, and they don't understand that in a lot of cases, all these things are kind of connected. And when you understand this, you can work on the actual underlying cause instead of thinking, oh, I'm just falling apart all over the place. Now, there are other causes for acid reflux and bloating, but in most cases, a lack of stomach acid is at least contributing to these symptoms. So if you want to figure out if there's a lack of stomach acid contributing to your issues, you can take our free 4-week digestion course, and it'll walk you through how to figure out what's going on with you and the steps that you can take to correct it. Now, the course is free, but it's still going to take you some effort to go through and learn these things and figure out how to look at your unique bio-individuality and figure out if this is actually a problem for you or if you need to look at other issues. We'll put the link to that free course in the description below, but for now you can watch our Why Am I So Bloated video to learn more about that, and don't forget to hit subscribe so you can learn more from our next videos. I can't wait to hear about your results.